A special thank you to Jen Hollowell and Company for sponsoring this week's episode. Welcome back to the place where we inspire growth through powerful stories of transformation. I am your host and artist, Jessica James, and this is the I Am Power podcast. All right, friends, I am really excited to share this week's episode and guest with you. I know I say that like every episode, but honestly, it's so true. Every time I go back to edit these episodes, the excitement of that initial interview comes back to me, and I'm reminded of why I started this project in the first place. Now, anytime I get the opportunity to talk to a guest who works with energy healing, I am immediately drawn in with excitement. So, of course, this week I'm super excited and super honored to bring to you our new guest, Ashlene, who in fact does energy work and helps us realize the power that we have inside of us and desires that we all learn to grow and know the power of our own energy. So if you're looking to discover your own potential and inner strength, this is the episode for you. Let's listen in. Thank you so much for being on with me today, Ashlene. I'm really excited to talk to you. Yay! Anytime I talk about or hear about energy healing, I'm immediately intrigued. I'm like, okay, tell me more. I want to know more. And so it's such an honor to have you on today, Ashlene, with Heart Led Prana. I'm so excited to hear more of your story and what it is that you are doing to help people. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. Yes, this is part of my own healing journey of how I kind of got into breath work, into energy healing. And I did do Reiki in 2014. That's kind of like when I got into spirituality and energy work. But it was kind of like back then, I didn't really claim it. It wasn't something that I told my friends or anything like that. I just volunteered at hospitals and would do it for patients and saw some really profound things. And then I kind of just went through life, basically just kind of winging it, like doing a bunch of different like odd jobs and things. And it wasn't until kind of this moment of just having to reflect a lot on my like this dark night of the soul and just like figuring out like, okay, I have to take radical responsibility for my life. Like I am the creator of my life and I am the one that like wants to be in like the front seat of that. And so with that, it was it was very scary because it's like when you have patterns and you have just these beliefs that you keep on replaying, it's almost like what is on the other side of that. So I went through some healing, some somatic healing with just this beautiful therapist. And I really understood how much I was really numbing and disassociating and how much that was really impacting the way that I was showing up. So learning about that was a really profound thing because then I learned about breath work. And when I started doing breath work, it was really powerful because then I started feeling my energy, feeling my body in a way that was so empowering and so powerful that I'm like, everyone needs to feel this way. Like everyone needs to feel the power of their own energy. And and like I said, in 2014, it was kind of like I was scared. I was like, people are going to think I'm like woo, or they're going to think like this is like real out there. And I'm at the point now where of course, there's like science behind breath work and energy, and there's things to measure it. But also for myself, like I'm just ready to claim just that path for me, and also how I see myself serving. And it's done some really amazing things for not only myself, but my friends around me that have been open to it, and also my clients. And so it's just something that has really not only shifted my life, but the people around me. And it's just like really cool to see.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so interested. There's like so many things that I want to talk to you about because you mentioned like almost like a fear of telling the people that are around you about this new like way of life that you're trying to do. And I think it's interesting. Like anytime you think of meditation or maybe you don't think this way, but I think it always gets like this bad rap, like energy work, meditation, like it makes you think of like you said, like woo woo, like what is this? But there is scientific evidence showing that we run on energy, that the earth, our whole existence is an energy build of, I mean, it's just like you think of like when you open up a plug, or if you were to like strip open a plug that goes into the wall, like there's all these different wires that like run from here and there and are, and if something's clogged, it can prevent that flow of energy. And so how did you like when you were like, okay, I want to start trying, something's got to change. I need to do something different in my life. And I want to share this, information that I know, this change that I'm experiencing with people that I love and the people that I know. How did you go about doing that and sharing that with them?
Yeah, I love that too, because that's actually how I got Heart Led Prana so our heart's magnetic field is 5,000 times greater than the brain's. So when you think of that measurement, it's like people think they're like,
I feel like I know that. And there was like, I watched a documentary or something that was talking about like that whole theory of like thinking with your heart or thinking with your head, and like how you could technically think with your heart because of what you're saying right now. So, oh my gosh, that's
not
so
even
interesting.
Thinking like feeling in your heart and embodying with that rather than like trying to be stuck in your head. And for me, I've always been an analytical, like I went to school to study philosophy and I was agnostic at that time. And I was like, I just don't know. And so getting into this spiritual realm, I was just like, it was just so unfamiliar. And honestly, like at a point I was, I was trying to make logic out of it, and sometimes you can't. So, so with that, I feel like, with the business that I'm in now, with being a breathwork facilitator and creating these spaces and containers, for me, I think just like creating the safety to allow that unfoldment to happen and for people to come up with their own conclusions, I think is the most important piece. And that was the big piece in my own journey, was like, no one likes being told what to do. No one. It's like, with figuring out my own path and like how I just learned that I feel empowered when I'm able to see, like when I'm able to like process, because I'm a person that I am a thinker, I am analytical. So I need time for it to like drop not only in my head, but in my body, and for me to really understand that and to go through it. And so that to me is like, not everyone is that way. So for me, I love like creating containers to allow people to drop as deep and as ready as they're willing to go. And that's really up to them. And that's what makes it so empowering for them to feel their energy. And when you're going into those different spaces and into breath work, you go into different brain waves. And so we're in beta right now. We're in the analytical, logical mind. And so when you're breathing in that way, it's not only cultivating energy, because 90% of our energy comes from oxygen, only 10% from food and water. But when you're breathing in this way, you go from different brainwaves from beta to alpha, which is this meditative state. And it's so cool when you can actually get out of that monkey mind. You can get out of your head and into your body. And then you start at a faster pace of the breath work, which is a nose inhale, mouth exhale, and then gets you into this theta, which is this dream time state. And I find it so cool because I've always been fascinated with the dreaming, especially when I was younger. I used to have these like reoccurring dreams. And so, when you're in this dream time state, it's like you're dreaming, and it's this really beautiful state where time is not linear. You're not thinking about time, just like when you're dreaming, you don't think about time. And so then you get into the state where your subconscious comes in, and you learn about all these things that are either in misalignment or in alignment. And you really get that really sense of like trust within yourself and the process. And I don't think we get a lot of those spaces to be able to like go into that. So it's really cool to like see people get into that. And also myself, like learning a big path that I have been on is learning to trust myself, learning to trust my intuition. And when I build that trust, it's like I can build more intimacy with others because I can trust myself enough to go deeper because I've gone deep within myself. So
wow. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is so interesting to me and incredible, because it just makes me think of how powerful we actually are. And a lot of times, like, we just don't realize what we're capable of doing. Do you think it's because of like a fear? Like, why do you think that we don't hear more about this type of inner work or healing? It's interesting to me.
That's such a great question. I'm not sure if I know all the answers. I think what I come up with, especially with my clients, is the fear of the unknown. So these patterns, like that, like the outcome of like going with the same guy or the same, like like going with that same, or like the same patterns or like believing what you believe. You're like, okay, I know the outcome of this. So in a weird way, I think that it be like that's safe, and yet if it's a disempowerment to believe that way, or it's not serving you, maybe it served you at a time, which I'm sure it did. We are very intelligent, so we adapt to things in the way of like either our environment or because we thought it was the way to be, or we were like, oh, people accept us if we act this way. And so I think at a certain point, you learn that, oh wow, this isn't really serving me anymore, me thinking or feeling or being in this space, and yet you don't know what to do because you don't know what's on the other side of that. And that can be really fearful, but also it's very liberating because you're like, oh wait, there is something on the other side of this. And if I just trust myself enough, and if I trust this person, and if I just like see where it takes me and just surrender, so much. It's just so much like magic can happen. That's what I love.
Yeah, you're like, God, it's great. Yeah, I'm over here like, I need to do this more. I need to do this. I've watched some documentaries on like meditative work and breath work and like just the whole like tapping into like your inner power. And it's almost like I think of, and maybe some other people can relate, especially when trauma is involved with our lives. We've experienced some trauma in the past. And a lot of coping mechanisms are to just pack it away and not think about it anymore, out of sight, out of mind. And so I almost feel like if I go into a deeper version of myself, because I didn't actually process what happened and dealt with it and let it go that way, I just like put it in a suitcase and it's in the closet back here. And, as long as I don't go messing with it, it's still there. I don't have to think about it. But like when you dive into that new, like, working through yourself, maybe some of those things are going to come up that you're going to have to process and you're going to have to deal with. So it's like a fear of, I don't really want to deal with it. So like, how do I get over that? Like, how do I, and then maybe it doesn't come up. I don't know. You would have to tell me.
I love this. Yeah. So first off, I would just say, again, it's about trusting yourself and knowing that nothing will come up unless you are ready to like face it. I think, so our subconscious will show us that. So say like, you before breath work or energy work, like you get in a fight with a partner or like something happens that kind of disrupts your day and you're like maybe ruminating about it or thinking about it, but it's like that's not really, that might come up, but actually that's your conscious mind. So what comes in is your subconscious. And I think we again, like it's all about safety in the body. So it's like nothing will come up unless you truly feel like there's like a loosening or like this sense of safety in the body. And also like your subconscious knows how powerful you are. So I believe that it won't bring up something that you're not ready and ready to face. Whether we want to lean into it or not, that's a different thing. Right? And so like learning that the subconscious, when it does come up, it's like, you're ready to reclaim something, or you're ready to like step into knowing that we don't have to hold on to that. It's if we're suppressing it, where does it go, right? Energy, emotions and things. Emotions are just energy in motion. And so if we're not allowing ourselves to fully express it, and I always love to say like express the unexpressed, to like fully embody that, it's getting stuck and stored in our tissues, in our cellular memory. And so even though we don't want to look at it, it doesn't mean that it's not there, like we'll still see on the driving a car, like the cracked windshield, it's still there. It's like whether we want to repair it or not, it's truly up to us. And so it's something that I think you definitely have to be ready for. And so I'm not saying this is work for every point of your life. I think it is like when you feel ready that you're like, you know what, I have given this so much power that it's really disempowered me. And like, I really want to step into my power. I want to reclaim what's really like my fullness, my wholeness, and my like true self. And I'm ready to step into that space. So I would say all of those factors play a role in it.
I mean, that makes so much sense to me, like being ready, but also like trusting, I think like the biggest word that I'm getting from all of this is just trusting yourself and that your body, your mind and your body's whole entire goal is to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And it's not going to allow you to do something that you're not ready for. And like you mentioned, understanding the conscious and subconscious mind and how powerful like that subconscious mind is, like it, just trusting yourself. And, sometimes it just, when I start to think about like how incredibly intelligent like our bodies, our existence is, it starts to like really just make me go, oh my gosh, this is wild. So but trust, I love that makes a lot of sense. And so like if you're feeling, maybe you're in a point in your life and you're just like, something's got to change, I need something different, like you have that lingering like desire, but maybe you're scared to like start this journey, that's where somebody like you would come into play, right? Because you are a guide, so that person doesn't feel like they have to do this on their own.
That's what I needed. I mean, again, this was part of my own healing journey, and I was like, something has to change. And so with that, I was like, I need support. I need support just as much as anyone else. And that actually was a tough part for me because I think I was like hyper independent. I was like, no, I have to do this myself. And what I realized is like, it's actually really brave and powerful and to receive support. And so for me, I even had to learn, how does it feel safe to receive? Like, how can I how can I allow myself to receive? And so I want people to feel empowered, but I want them to know that of course, they don't have to do this alone. They don't have to be on this path alone, and that I'm not, they're doing the work and feel empowered in that. But I'm here to be an anchor, to be a timekeeper, to be an anchor, and just to allow the space to be what it needs to be, whatever that looks like. And so, and that can look like a lot of things. And so, just bringing in that piece of, I want people to come into their own conclusions, yet I'm going to be here to support whatever that looks like. And then like, let's tap into that together. I think it allows people to feel safe enough to drop in as deep as they're needing to go and to lean into that space.
Yeah. And this type of work that you do has been around for a really long time. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. And I don't know if it just like happened because I've stepped into this, like, almost feels like a different dimension of like living life. And, it's like I told Caitlin in our interview, I felt like I walked around for like 30 years in a shell, in a bubble. And I had no idea of all the amazing things that were around me and the amazing things that I was capable of. So, and again, I don't know if it's just like the algorithm, because, our phones and these apps know us best almost. And it brings this to my attention. And so it's so interesting. Or do you think that there's an uptick in people seeking this type of lifestyle, healing, all of the things? Do you think that there's, we're at a point in our lives or in society where we're just like, I need something different?
I think so. I think we're at a point where people are seeing things and they're like, is this even my thoughts? Like, is this really like how I think, or is this what I truly believe? And is there more? And I think that's what I think as humans, we do want to evolve and we do want to grow, and change can be scary, but at the same time, we want deep connection. And I think we've lost that just with, you were talking about with like apps. And I think we've lost that with phones. Like, we can be connected with something at like a drop of a hat, and yet we feel so disconnected. And I think what that is really knowing yourself. I think it's like the depth, the capacity that you can meet yourself is the capacity that you can meet others. And so if we're always distracting ourselves when we're in discomfort, or, that's a point for us to really get to know ourselves and to deepen that, and to be like, like, why do I feel uncomfortable right now? Or why am I like, And so these spaces kind of tap into that and really help you to understand yourself more. And I think it's just learning, learning to have compassion and to give yourself time for that. Because again, like, I think we're so used to like having these like, wanting quick responses, or wanting quick results, and
everything now.
Everything right now. I want it all. And it's like, could you even handle it? Like, probably not.
Oh my God, you couldn't handle it. Yeah, no.
This overwhelming feeling. And so it's like, even the process of the breathwork containers, they're an hour to an hour and a half, because it's about like really dropping in, but making sure that the body does feel safe, and making sure that like it is this container that that we really take time to kind of allow the body to show what it's needing. And even after it, like, people have releases even like way after, because again, like, I don't think like everything's supposed to happen simultaneously or like right at it.
Right.
And so like learning to like slow down, I think that's what people are yearning for the most, is just to be in the present moment, just to experience things.
Yeah.
And be present, and to really just be able to live, and not in like the past or the future, but right now.
If you're looking to buy or sell your home this year, I've got the girl for you. Jennifer Hollowell is the mastermind behind Jen Hollowell and Company, and the sponsor of this week's episode. I have had the pleasure of getting to know Jen, and let me tell you, she is one of the most passionate and knowledgeable real estate agents I have ever met. With over 15 years of experience, Jen has helped countless families find their dream homes, and I am so grateful she is a part of this project. Jen has a background in marketing and customer service, so she knows exactly how to make the buying and selling process smooth and enjoyable for her clients. And with an eye for art and architecture, Jen is able to bring a unique perspective to each and every transaction. So if you're thinking about buying or selling your home, I highly recommend you reach out to Jen. And once again, a big thank you to Jen with Jen Hollowell and Company for sponsoring this week's episode.
And I think we're so disconnected to that. I think it's because like we're just so, like if you are holding on to things or suppressing it, you're still stuck in that past. Or if like you're so fearful of the future, it's like you're not here right now. And so I think what a lot of people are just trying to find modalities to be able to just live and experience, and for them to like truly connect in the here and now. And it's just an interesting thing that we have to learn. We have to learn that.
Yeah, it's just
but that's what like you just we've sort of lost that. And I think we're trying to go back to that childlike wonder where we're just like curious rather than like knowing things or like fearing what's next. And I think what it takes is just really learning to learning about yourself and learning about how to be present. And I think that's why it's so beautiful, because these modalities, because they have been here for thousands of years, and yet they're so simple. Just the fact that our breath can take you into these spaces, and it's natural, and it's just something that we first came into this world, like that was the first thing that we like tapped into, was an autonomic nervous system. and it's like our last breath. Yeah. That's the last thing that we're going to do here on this earth. And so, why wouldn't you want to learn about that? Why wouldn't you want to like discover that? Find out more about something that's so powerful and yet like so natural, and that can get you into different spaces and into different brain waves and into just different things that can happen in the breath. It's like, I think people are curious about that because they're realizing it's not just like what we see in our external, there's so much more. And that like, people are getting curious about that. And they're like, there has to be something more than just these mundane tasks that I'm doing daily, on a daily basis. And there has to be, I think that's what it comes down to, is there has to be something more. And so I think people are just curious about that. And I would ask, I would invite people to stay curious.
Stay curious. It's almost like I'm thinking about, what you're saying about the breath work and like how amazing it can be for us. It's like we've tricked ourselves into thinking that because it's simple, it's too good to be true. That whole like saying, if it's simple and easy, it's too good to be true. But like you said, it's the first thing that we do when we enter this physical world. It's the last thing that we do when we exit this physical world that we are guaranteed of. And so, there's a lot to say about breath work and in therapy, like they talk about, it's a grounding technique. There's different things that you can do. So someone that's like, okay, this is very interesting to me. Like, what are some tips for someone that is, that knows nothing about this type of work, but they're feeling extremely stressed or anxious? I'm sure you could probably just use it in your day-to-day life, even if you're not having those emotions. So tell me more about this.
Love this. Yes. So I'm also a yoga teacher, and that's actually how I got into also meeting Caitlin and also learning about pranayama, about breath work and things. And I used to be dysregulated, and I didn't even realize like, oh, I'm just anxious because my nervous system is out of whack. I just thought it was like a personality. Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh no, I'm just like, it's just me, man. I'm just an anxious person. But
when we're like, nah, that's not normal, guys. This is not normal.
And it's not. And so many people feel that way. And so, what I found found so profound. And also like I went through probably a grieving process because I'm like, wow, why didn't I know this before? Is that this fact of we can use our breath to regulate our nervous system. It's like, it just blew my mind when I found that out. And so some simple practices is just learning, even knowing what the different type of breathing techniques can do for your autonomic nervous system and also for you. So if you're looking for more grounding, I would say nose inhales. That's actually what I do in the breath work too, because I think a lot of people are already in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so that actually with mouth inhales, that's activating the sympathetic, which is the upper autonomic nervous system. And so what that is doing is activating that stress response or the fight, flight, freeze. So just
and I just want to like tap in really quick while you're saying this, because it's making me think of an experience like that I had. And a lot of times when we are in those those stages and we're just like tense, we don't realize that we're not breathing. And like I went to go get my teeth cleaned the other week, and I told the girl, I was like, I have severe anxiety about dentist, she's like, just breathe. And so like I paid attention to like, which I normally don't do, and I could tell, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not breathing, like Jessica, breathe. And so I just want to like say that really quick, like being aware and paying attention to yourself in these moments too. So, but yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think it is really important for us to just even be aware of our breath. Like I can't tell you how many times, like even in a yoga class that I'm teaching, I'll just be like, how is your breath? And then you just hear the sense of release, like this, like because when they're doing like something that's so intentional, sometimes you can forget just even as simple as your breath. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is something that it's like going back to this again, those simplicities and the foundation. This is our foundation. And so I was like, I want to get to the root of it. And so just knowing that, I think is power. Just knowing that, like, oh, inhaling like through my nose rather than my mouth, it can change dramatically, like the way that it can shift the way that you feel. It can shift so much. We actually we have this beautiful filtration system in the back of our nose that eliminates about 70% of the toxins in our environment. So just knowing that alone, it's like, just knowing just to breathe in through your nose. So so it activates the parasympathetic, breathing in through your nose, which is the lower lungs, and it's the rest, digest, restored state. So even just hearing that, you're like, okay, I want to ground. And so I would say it's just a simple practice. First is just noticing your breath, just sitting there, putting your hand somewhere grounding, maybe on your knees, and just noticing your breath, noticing where is it? Is it up on my chest? Am I breathing into my chest? Am I breathing into my belly? Where am I tightening? If I'm holding my breath, I'm probably holding other things. So learning to just relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, just relax. The things that you're holding on to, the stress that you're holding on to, just to kind of soften into the body. And then just taking, like, in the breath work, we first start with like a slow, first start with a meditation and then the breath, but then go into like a slow rhythmic breath. And I would say, you don't have to go really fast into like your breath. Like I have to breathe really deeply, but it's just learning to just simply, I think it's again going just back to the simplicity of things. So just maybe even like taking nice deep inhales in and just doing kind of like an exploratory, just being exploring the way that you feel when you breathe certain ways. So like breathing in through your nose for 6 and then exhaling for 6 and seeing how that feels. And then maybe breathing in for 4 and then exhaling for 6 a couple times and then just seeing how that feels. And I love when people just explore for themselves, because then they can see, and it's proof. It's like sometimes we just need proof. And like, we don't being told what to do. And like, to know like we want to know the science of things. And it is, and like, once we know that, we're like, okay, then it makes us feel safe enough to like try it. Cause we're like, okay, there's some like, there's something going on here. There's some foundation. So, I would say, just like doing, so what I love is that we typically use about 33% of our lungs capacity. And so just like learning to take deep breaths in, nice, slow, deep breaths in and out, just like feeling your breath and just feeling it relax you, I think is really, it's just really simple and really beautiful.
I love that. And it's almost like, it makes me think of like, it's a really good opportunity to just like connect with yourself and be with yourself. Like it's a form of like self-care. Because I think there's definitely something to be said about like just having time with yourself and exploring your body and who you are and what it can do for you, what it does for you every day. So yeah, like I love this. And so you could recommend like 10, 15 minutes a day to like take some time to yourself and just like explore your breathing. And how do I not feel silly when I'm doing this?
I'd say like, I would say explore, be curious about that too. Why do you feel silly?
Why do I feel silly doing this?
I would just simply like sitting and just placing your hand on your heart center and then your hand on your belly button. And maybe you put on like music so that, but I also invite people to just hear their breath. I think that's really powerful to hear like the depth of their breath, and just really hearing that sound as well, I think is very calming and soothing too. But if you like to just like, okay, I just want to listen to music, I would say, like go for it. And then just like breathing really deeply into your belly and then your chest and then like exhaling out. I'd say like doing that for 5 minutes would be amazing, would be great, just to like kind of settle into your body and your breath. And so I think my big mission is to just have people feel really empowered in their body, because for me, I know what it feels like to feel numb and disassociated and out of the body. It's such a beautiful place to be. Like, we're here on such a short time, you might as well enjoy being here in your body. And so, yeah, maybe even closing your eyes, just getting familiar with the breath, and and then just breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And 5 minutes, I'd say you can really see a profound difference, especially if you've been feeling, some people can probably feel like maybe even just like a release and just feel more grounded if they're having like a hard day or something's coming through. But yeah.
So whenever I've tried, and I have a friend who like literally just asked me yesterday, like, have you ever meditated? And I'm like, well, I've tried a few times. So what would be advice for someone that's like me, who goes to try to meditate, and A, their brain will not shut the hell up, and then B, when I do try to pay attention to my breath, I feel like I breathe more erratic when I'm trying to pay attention to it. So is it a practice thing? Is it something that you have to do regularly? The more you do it, the better you get. I don't know, type of situation. Like, tell me about that.
Absolutely. And so, I would say meditation is a really, it's a really hard thing to do. Again, we're so used to being distracted in things. So I think focusing on the breath is actually you still go into those brainwave states that you can with meditation, and yet like you have something to focus on. I would say if you feel like your breath is getting more erratic, or it's something that like you can't do the pace, again, like having slow music to kind of do the tempo with, and just like allow yourself to like go with that, because it sounds like, and I'm right there with you, I think like like we can't stop our brains from thinking. That's what it does. It's like I have a lab and they're working dogs. Like that's what they do. They need something to do. So I think what helps is like, if you're not at that it really is, meditation is like an expert level thing to do. I find it's like we all can get there. It just, again, it takes that practice and that discipline. And so and also this level of surrender, and not it's like that's not easy to do. We want to control, we want to know the outcomes of things. So I would say like doing these like a meditation and just having like a word or a phrase that you can focus on while you're breathing, or maybe that's like you light a candle and just have something to focus on while you're doing it. Not expecting an outcome, not being like, oh, I have to like I like like I have to be or this stuff that like
I have to be so enlightened when I come out of this moment. I need to know all the alls. I don't do it right.
It's like a level of I know I have that, like a level of perfectionism, or needing to do it right. And it's like, well, what if we just like have the simplest intention of, I just want to be present in this moment. And so like, what does that mean? Does that mean I have to light a candle to do that and meditate? But I would say with breathing practices, it's really as simple as, I think if meditation is really difficult one, which it is for most people, because again, it's people think they have to shut off their brains. And if that's the first time that you're sitting down and you've been like having a busy day,
never gonna
it's gonna be pretty difficult. So just learning to like have an intention or a breath or something to focus on to allow your mind to be like, okay, I have a job. It's like the same thing with my dog. Like we're playing Frisbee and it's like, okay, I have a goal. I have this thing that I can focus on.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, it's the same thing with the breath work. Like people think they're never going to get out of their heads. And it's like, eventually the breath will breathe you, but we have to get to the point of like allowing the body to feel safe, allowing this repetitive thing to come through so that, and also like getting rid of that fear of like not doing it right. Like trust yourself. Yeah. You are doing it right.
Yes.
And
you're doing a great job.
Exactly. And it just comes with time and discipline. So to answer your question, absolutely. If you have 5 minutes to just like in the morning or night, and I would keep it consistent, like when you do it, because then it's like you're building yourself up and like it's almost like your brain's like, okay, we do this every morning for 5 minutes or something. Even just 3 minutes, like you don't have to put on a set in like a certain time, but I think it is important because sometimes you might need longer. Like maybe you want to do it longer, or like there's times where like you just breathe and you're like, okay, I feel better, and then or like I just feel like I'm more in my body or more present. Then it depends on like the intention and goal. So
this definitely. Well, and it also kind of like, makes me, the thing that's come into my brain as we're talking about this is like how important it is to just enjoy the process, enjoy the learning process, enjoy the healing process, because, like we had mentioned before earlier in the show, like we're just like that one fix, like we want to take a pill and we want to feel better. We want to order that thing online and we want it there the same day. So like... and then just like slowing down. We are such a fast-paced society right now that like we just go. And like it's so important when you take time for yourself. And it makes me think of like my own personal experience. I had a guest on, Dion, who we talked about like setting, putting a priority on your personal care, your self-care, and for, just you, like making time for you. And if that means getting up, 30 minutes early in the morning for yourself, like do it. You just or cutting out things that are not serving you to give yourself that extra time that you need. And for me, like my thing was, I like to go to bed. I'm in bed by like 9 p.m. Most people would probably like gasp at that, but like that's my thing. And so and so for me, staying up later at night is like not an option. Like I'm not staying up later to do some self-care. I'm going to get up early in the morning. So I get up like, and it's building that habit too. I think they say that it takes like 2 weeks or something like that to build a habit. And so like I get up in the mornings to spend time with my plants, to be with myself, to just think. And so that's like a perfect opportunity for me to start trying with the breath work. So just, prioritizing yourself in that time for yourself, but also enjoying the process and like just really, you're not going to do that first journal entry and feel like $1 million. You're not going to do that first breath exercise and feel like $1 million. Like it's definitely a thing, but like, I don't know. I'm over here like, okay, I'm ready to start. Let's do this in the morning. I'm adding that to my morning thing too. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
And making it realistic. Yeah. Because I think a lot of times we put too much pressure on ourselves and we're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Sometimes I feel silly when I'm like trying to like, let me stop and breathe. Like I need to, just enjoying, the learning process, but also being with myself on a different level. So
absolutely,
it's great.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good reminder.
And so
like enjoy. Yeah. Just like learning the enjoyment of it and learning that you can, it doesn't have to be hard work. Like it doesn't have to be this like big thing. Yeah. You can just like learn to enjoy the process as it is. And as it comes.
And I think and when we experience that process of that growth process and we can have that opportunity to look back at where we were and see where we are now, as opposed to if we just took a pill and it was better in a day, like I don't think we appreciate the journey as much. And
absolutely
so I'm all about enjoying the process.
I love that because I'm starting to do that too, and it's such a good reminder of being like, like, yes, you do have maybe a goal in mind or something to like seek out, but we're always going to have that. Like, it's kind of like the summit of everything. Like we see the top of that, and then it's like, oh wait, there's like another thing that we like gonna go. So it's like, how can we enjoy that and like in the moment and fully just embrace it.
So if you've had a few moments with a past version of yourself who is in the thick of struggle, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them?
You're and so you're so worthy just as you are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I think it's such an important thing for us to hear, but also to really like embody that we are worthy, we are great just the way that we are. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. You've got like, you got this. I think, just like you're not doing it wrong. I think too, like, I don't know. I think, I'm not just me included. I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves, and you don't know what you don't know. You're only doing what you've learned and what you've seen and what you've programmed. And so it's like learning that it's like, give yourself some grace, like you're going to learn later on, and you're going to have to go through that struggle in order to see that like, okay, I don't want to keep continuing this. I choose better for myself and for others. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is just like, like you're so worthy of so much more. You're so worthy. So that's what I would say.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And then my last question, which is my favorite, is we like to talk about power on the podcast and not think of that as a bad thing. What would you think of, or how would you try to describe the type of power that you step into every day?
Power, just being your authentic self, to be able to express your voice, express your truth, and know that you are worthy just as you are. And so show up in that way, and it gives others the permission to do the same.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. That is awesome. And so for anyone that's listening that is just like, I'm so interested in this feels like this is right for me, I will make sure that I link all of Ashlene's information in the show notes so that you can give her a follow on her social media, as well as reach out to her on her website where you can book a session with you. Do you do in person, or is it is it?
I do.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So I do ceremonial breath works. They're anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. I also do energy healing as well. And so I do it virtual, but I also,
nice.
So I also do it in person as well. And I have some programs. I have a 3-month program. I also can just do like a 1 session thing. I like to cater it to the person, what they're going through, if they're going through any transition, stuff like that. So my Instagram is Heart Led Prana. So that's where that's my business name. And
that's
and my email right now is info.heartledprana@gmail.com is another beautiful way to reach out and just to discover, whether virtual or if you are in Denver, Colorado, if you want to do in person, I would love that. My website is heartledprana.com, and that will have like events that I have coming up, because I do breathwork events as well. Those are very powerful.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure that is, I was gonna say, I bet that is incredibly powerful. Oh my gosh, I want to like jump in on one of those.
And I would say for the people, if there is something in you that is a little bit curious, or like that one, like you're like, I don't know how this works, but because I would invite you just to reach out, because it's like there's something in you that's like calling you to be a little bit curious. And even if you don't know how it works, you're like, well, why would it, like, how could that work on Ryan? It's like, yes, there's proof. And
there's testimonials too. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I've done them online, and they're
oh my gosh,
those are they're super powerful. So,
yeah. Awesome. And again, I will link all of that information so that you guys can just do one-stop shop. You can just follow her and reach out to her and check out all the amazing things that she's doing. But also, follow for empowerment, because she has a beautiful feed and she's always there empowering us to be the best versions of ourselves. But I thank you so much. It was such a beautiful experience being with you and sharing your knowledge and experience with everyone. I just can't wait to see all of the amazing things that you have in your future.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was honestly such a pleasure. And yeah, I'm excited to see all the other podcasts that you have as well.
Thank you all for supporting us with your listens today. I want to thank my guest again so much for sharing their powerful story of transformation with us. If you personally felt connected to the story and you would like to check out the art that goes along with it, you can do so on our website at iampower.club. You can also purchase limited edition copies of this artwork as your own reminder to step into your power. All of the art sales go to support the podcast and keep us moving forward to bring you powerful stories each and every week. If you liked this episode and found value in it, please let us know by giving us a like or sharing us with a friend. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at I Am Power Club, YouTube at Jessica James, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss next week's episode of I Am Power. See you then.